everyone! In this video, I will discuss how to use ratio analysis to analyze a company's financial policies. This part evaluates financing decisions. For example, what financial leverage a company uses, how the firm's liquidity is, and how about the firm's solvency. We will also discuss a company's dividend policy. The analysis of financing decisions can be performed on both current and non-current liabilities. Liquidity analysis refers to evaluating current liabilities, and solvency analysis relates to longer-term liabilities. What is liquidity? Liquidity refers to the availability of resources to meet short-term cash requirements. There are several ratios useful to evaluate a company's liquidity. The first one is current ratio. It is equal to current assets divided by current liabilities. It measures the short-term debt-paying ability of a company. A higher current ratio suggests a strong liquidity position and a strong ability to meet current obligations. Second, the acid test ratio or quick ratio is a more stringent measure than the current ratio. We calculate the quick ratio by dividing quick assets by current liabilities. Here, quick assets include cash, short-term investments, and current receivables. The numerator of quick ratio is generally lower than the current ratio because we exclude some current assets such as inventories and prepaid expenses, which may be difficult to be quickly converted into cash. The third ratio, cash ratio, is another measure of a company's liquidity. It is the ratio of a company's total cash and cash equivalents to its current liabilities. The metric indicates a company's ability to repay its current debt with cash or near cash resources such as easily marketable securities. Compared with the current ratio and acid ratio, this one, cash ratio, is a more conservative liquidity ratio as it restricts the numerator to only the most liquid assets. Beyond short-term survival, solvency measures the ability of a company to meet long-term obligations. One of the most important components of solvency analysis is the composition of a company's capital structure. The debt ratio measures what portion a company's asset is contributed by creditors. It expresses total liabilities as a percentage of total assets. A larger debt ratio indicates less opportunity for the company to expand through use of debt financing in the future. Second, the debt-to-equity ratio compares a company's liability relative to equity. The lower the ratio, the more solvency the company has. In addition to the liabilities, long-term creditors are also interested in interest. They want to evaluate the ability of a company to meet periodic interest payments. The interest coverage ratios provide such information. It is calculated by dividing earnings before interest and taxes by the interest expense. The larger the ratio, the less risky the company is from the perspective of a long-term creditor. Finally, in the lecture of shareholders' equity, you have learned that companies might distribute dividends to shareholders. A firm's dividend payout ratio is a measure of the company's dividend policy. The dividend payout ratio is defined as cash dividend paid divided by net profit. If an investor likes current income, he or she will want to look for companies with high dividend payout ratios. Please note that this dividend payout ratio is not only about a current period. It also affects a company's future growth. Why? Because the part of earnings that is not distributed out to shareholders is retained in the company and can be used for future development. The return on equity ratio and the dividend payout ratio determine the pool of funds available for growth. Specifically, the sustainable growth rate is defined as ROE times 1 minus dividend payout ratio. For example, if company ABC's ROE is 20% and its dividend payout ratio is 60%, then the company's sustainable growth rate will be 20% times 1 minus 60%. It is 8%. Large and mature companies often pay large and consistent dividends. On the other hand, growth and young companies usually keep cash on hand for future expansion. They don't like to pay out high dividends out. Therefore, they usually have a higher growth rate. Thank you.